Hello, Fix-It-Tony here. Another installment of a Fix-It-Tony job around the house. Today you're looking at a blank wall because I'm going to be installing a floating shelf. This floating shelf I had it custom made. My specifications, design and depth, made out of cherry veneer, MDF, and solid cherry banding. This is designed to support with a 16th inch deflection, about 50 pounds in the center, so plenty strong. And I went online. First part of the job is going to be to locate the height. So this is actually above my son's bed, so it'll be up at some point above his bed. Now, 36 inches above the mattress is a minimum safe height, so that as you're sitting down on the bed and getting up at the normal position along the bed, you won't knock your head on the corner. And we're gonna go a little higher than that. And at that point, we're going to then measure, we're gonna identify where the studs are using a stud finder. I have a long 6-foot level, and we will kind of identify exactly where we're going to place the brackets. All right, so I'm going to put the top of the level. So I've got a 6-foot level here. It's handy when your project needs a longer level. So I'm gonna go roughly, that's where my starting point is, right there. So I'm gonna start there, and then I have to level the line that I'm gonna draw. So you can see the bubble. Let's get in right on the bubble. So this level, you have a bubble and you have 2 lines. So you want to put the bubble in between the 2 lines, and that means you're level. And you want to have the distance between the lines the same. So now that is level, and I'm going to draw a line. Yes, I can see the line. It may not show up clearly on the camera, but I can definitely see the line. From an aesthetic standpoint, I don't really want the floating shelf to be touching the edge of my window frame. I want to bring it back a little bit. So I'm going to find the edge of the bedpost, and say that's about where I want it to be. And again, I'll find my level. Once I find my perpendicular, my plumb, all right, then I'm going to find my line. Where's my line? Right here. And then draw a vertical line. Didn't quite come across. There. Now I'm going to take, on this side of the bed, I'm going to take a vertical line. And this is going to be now I see an outlet down below, and the way outlets are located on a wall is they're always, here, let's come over here, shine the light. So one thing you can kind of keep in mind is that whenever you find an outlet on a wall, one side of the outlet will be a stud, because the box that the outlet is in is always going to be attached directly to a stud. For the most part, there are rare exceptions. So in this case, we know there's going to need to be a stud on the right side or on the left side of the box. So, which is right, it actually lines up perfectly with the edge of this bed. To get a quick sense of what side of the receptacle the stud is on, we can just do a quick knock test, and you should be able to pick up an acoustic difference in the wall of the sound, and that'll be where the stud is. Listen. So the stud is on the left side of the outlet box, which is good because our shelf is going to be starting from the edge of the bed going in. So I know, now we go back up here, this line is the edge of the bed. So I know that as I go across, I'm going to find a stud somewhere in this area. So I'm going to start out wide. I'm going to come in. There's one stud. Let's just draw a more definitive line. Okay, let's try now. To verify, you go to the left of it, hold on the stud sensor, put it on, and go to the left. And there it is. So we validated that that indeed is a stud. Now, normally, in normal construction, the center of the studs will be 16 inches apart. So I could now, from here, measure 16 inches on center, and I should land another stud. So let's do that first. So I'm going to put my tape measure where the current stud is. I'm going to go 16 inches. And I'm going to put a mark. And then I'm going to go 16 more inches. And I'm going to put a mark. All right. So now I'm going to use my stud finder to verify indeed that's the case. So I'll start in between. And then spot on. Go from the other way. Go in towards the same stud. Spot on. So now we got one more over here. That was a little early. That one, there could be a second stud in here. It's entirely possible that they put two studs here side by side because there could be a structural requirement from a roof member or a beam. So we're going to just come in from this side. So there is a stud where we were expecting it, but there might be a double stud next to it. So I'm going to put 2 marks. And I'm going to continue over. If I do another 60, now getting close to the window, and I know that in traditional American stick framing construction, you're going to have at least 2, sometimes 3 2x4s or 2x6s or wood members nailed together to help form the structural support and the support for the opening, and also the roof or floor above. So I'm going to be expecting wood over here, but I may not find any wood right at the end here. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go 16. I'm hoping for a stud right here. That would be really nice. So let's try again. Start in the middle and work our way towards that theoretical spot. Spot on. Good. Now I can't come in from this side because the calibration will be measuring the density of the wood. So basically I have one stud here. I'll put a circle. I'll put a circle around that mark, around that mark, around that mark, and around that mark. So this hole is lined up with the stud. So that's basically how it's going to work. Handy helper is going to hold the camera and the bracket. So Mr. Helper, hold that, bring it over to my left, and right there. Hold that steady. Don't let go. Mr. Helper, can you go put that level right on top of the back? So now we're gonna get the level, because whenever you're putting a fastener in, you're gonna do your best to line it up where you want it to be. But at the end of the day, we're gonna, I got this, I'll support it. There, that's level. All right, so let's take this level away. All right, now we got it level. So now that we got it level, we're gonna put one more screw where the stud is, right here. Okay, now, and before we add any more screws, we should at least make sure we are solid on the level. We're good there. And we're spot on there. So that's, the back of that is spot on level. All right, this is gonna be a little bit floppy, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna locate this hole, the pencil, and I'm tracing around the hole. I'm gonna have an alternative fastener there. While we're not totally committed to this position, we should first get a sense of whether or not we're happy with the situation. So that's what it's gonna look like. All right, and we step back and the boss makes a decision. Is it a good position or not? Are you happy? Thumbs up? Thumbs up. We get a thumbs up, so we're good to go. So we're committed to this particular positioning. All right. Now, this shelf, as you can gather, it could slide off. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill. This steel does not have holes yet, but we're going to drill a hole through the steel. Probably one there, 2, 3, 4. We're going to drill holes through the steel, and we're going to use small screws to fasten the shelf to the steel bracket so that it doesn't wobble and wiggle and jiggle. So the fastener I'm going to use as that extra fastener that needs to suspend and support the structure in between the studs. You got a couple of options. You can do the traditional butterfly anchor. This is a modification of the butterfly anchor. The brand is Easy Toggle, and this self-drills into the drywall, and it anchors itself into the drywall using these very large threads. And then the screw screws in. And as you put the screw in, what'll happen is you can see on how the toggle opens up, and then this will draw towards the back of the drywall, and this will support more than what will be needed for that small portion of the shelf. So the steps are, you need to drill this in first. That's why it was important for us to locate the hole. We'll locate the hole, we'll drill this in. Another anchor you can use has less holding power from the same company. Is an anchor that kind of looks like this. It's a two-step process. You just drill this into your wallboard, and then this is the screw that you fasten it to. Now, I think I have because I have 3 screws that are 2.5 inches going into solid lumber, I'm not gonna need to add any extra holes or fasteners, just this one. In order to fasten the shelf to the support bracket, I have these 1 1/4 inch number 8 cabinet screws. I've had good luck with this particular brand, and I don't have to go all the way through. I don't want to go all the way through, and I don't want this tip to puncture the top surface of the veneer. So all we need to do is get a 1/4 inch of bite, because what we're doing is we're not supporting a pull strength, we're supporting the shelf from being sliding laterally, so against this fastener. So a 1/4 inch in is more than enough. So this is the size. I need to drill a clearance hole through the steel bracket. A clearance hole is a hole that's bigger than the threads, so this just goes all the way through without resistance, because this is a wood thread, not a steel thread, and we don't want to damage these threads by hitting the steel. Let's go outside and drill a hole. Get closer. All right, so I'm outside. Obviously it snowed. And what I need to do is locate the holes that I'm going to drill through the steel to help with the fastening. So I measured a 1/2 inch in from the edge, and I scored a line. This is soft steel. I probably don't need to center punch, but just to kind of show best practices. This is not a tool and die shop or machine shop, so you can be a little off, but I'm gonna do my best since it's a home project. And what I'm gonna do is I did go 1/2 inch in from the edge. I just used a utility knife because I knew this was painted, and if I score it with a utility knife, I'll be able to see my line. Now at this point, I am just gonna eyeball it. I'm pretty confident in my eyeball ability, and I'm gonna put the center punch on the line, about roughly center, and then I'm gonna strike it a couple times. This. I'll put it in high speed and do it by hand, not by a drill press. And let's put it on something solid. How about that, huh? Did that one. So now what you'll see here is we have some burrs. So I'm going to have to file those burrs off. So I'm just going to get a file. I'm just going to file those burrs off because otherwise the screw won't sit in just right. I'll pause that now, and next time you see us, we'll be upstairs reinstalling this. All right, we're back. I didn't show you the filing of the burrs just because I didn't know if it was important or not to show you, but I want to show you how this thing kind of goes in, this anchor. So I'm going to, so if you want to find the center, you have a point. I kind of go in on an angle, find the center of my mark, bring it up, hold it steady. Now, I shouldn't be using an impact drill. Let me change drills. The reason I don't want to use an impact drill is I don't want all the vibration and shaking to alter the integrity of the connection of the anchor to the drywall, because drywall is, by definition, is powder. All right, so we're going to go slow. We don't want high speed, so I'll put my drill to speed 1, and we're just going to go slow and gingerly. There we go. So now my helper is going to help me. Just hold it there, kind of line up that hole. I got my holes from before that I'm going to just reinstall the screws. Now I'm not going to go all the way because I want to make sure this one is in first. So I got it. So now here's what I'm going to do. I got my screw and I'm going to make sure the hole, see, it lines up perfectly. That's good. Now, with these kinds of anchors, they do best when you do it by hand. because you really got to get a feel for how this thing is working. And if there's any resistance or any looseness, you got to feel it with your hand. You can't feel it with the drill. So I like the level of resistance that I'm experiencing with this. Yeah. There. I'll hold that up still. It's not enough to support yet. Hold on. Hold that. There, now you can let go.
Which stud are we doing there?
Stripped. That's a problem. So what we got here, boys and girls, is a stripped bit. My bit, I think, got rounded over. And now this is not going in. So we got ourselves a problem. Is drilling well, I'm lucky, but normally the way this thing works is I flip this around and then I go in reverse. Ooh, this is hot. All right. So we'll just get a new screw. We'll get a longer extension. I probably went in on an angle. Not good. Now I have a hole that is going to be stubborn, but I have a really long extension now. We'll see how this works. There.
What's extension even do?
So the question from the audience was, why did I have to have such a long extension? Well, here's the issue. The width, see how wide my drill is? And you can see where the center is. So if you're truly, wanting to line up, which is the best force factor, you can see how this will get in the way and force the angle. And I think that's what happened to me. But when you have a really long extension, you can stay true to the line of travel for the screw, and that's the best outcome. I think I realized why also the screw stripped. I was using the Torx bit for the smaller screws, which is a I don't quite know what the T is, but it's a small Torx bit on these bigger screws that had a bigger Torx head, and that was the error of my ways. I didn't fully inspect the right bit for the screw head. So take-home message is make sure your bit fits snugly into the hole of the screw. I like these screws because they have sort of like a self-tapping feature. You can kind of see that. It's a nice flat head, and what I'll have to do is I'll show you that I'll end up having to paint these screws black and then determine if I want to paint the black metal a brown color to match the cherry. But let's go over and put these screws in. get underneath here. So let's just make for sure. So if we want to make sure that the screws won't go through, see, it won't go through. So we're good. I pre-measured too. Oh, let's make sure this is equal on both sides. The reason you'll see that there's a gap here, I think when this weld happened, it threw this post a little off square. Oh, we lost a light. I better move quickly. There, shelf is done. Thank you very much for watching. Please like it if you like this video and subscribe. Really appreciate it. All in the effort to help budding young adults and kids to learn how to do it yourself. Thank you. See you soon.